Okay, just making sure we are actually live. Oops, so sorry, getting new to this here. There we go. There we go. Shows it's live. Sorry. We got audio too. Okay, so the title of this live is, it doesn't show up on the screen anymore. Recognizing your past trauma and passing through it. So, what does that mean? I'm going to speak from my experience, but being human is a series of events. We can go underneath that. We can say that we built a life plan before we came here, and we were working through karma and setting a plan to learn throughout this life existence. And as part of that, we end up creating different trauma events in our life. These events, you could say, are part of our contract. We interact with other people, have events. Some of them are really intense, things like rapes or an abuse or something with our parents, or other things where you are mentally, physically, etc., stressed. And basically, we'll get to a point in our life where those will become nuance points. I can't think of a better word for it, but basically a point where you end up having to make a choice. You'll live in the after effects of that. I'll speak from my experience. So as a child, we moved probably about every 1 to 2 years for my dad's work. He was high ranking, or moved his way up to a high ranking level in the oil industry here in Canada. And we probably lived in 8 to 10 different places before I went to university. And it was hard. It was basically set up your foundations, get comfortable, your bedroom, all those things. And within a year or two, we're moving to a completely different place, usually thousands of kilometers away from the last place. And we ended up not building those foundations with friends and community and having that safe place. So we were very family centered. Another good example is, as a child, my dad would force me to eat my vegetables, but it became like a force of will, so screaming and yelling, and basically just belittling me to the point where I'd have to sit for 3 hours crying my eyes out at the table and him yelling and screaming at me. He thought he was doing the best thing to help me, but in the end, it was some of his trauma playing out on me. And I have an aversion to vegetables. I have an aversion to authority, aversion to loud noises or people yelling and screaming. And I'd eventually just retract back, and I wouldn't know what to do. These are things that we all have in our system. I can speak to dozens more. We all have them. It's part of the requirement of coming to this place. It also comes through our lineage, through our parents. Past traumas are sent on to us. If they haven't dealt with them in their lifetime, they come and they sit in us. Now, those traumas sit in our nervous system. So for people that aren't really understanding what the nervous system is, so the nervous system is the essentials of our nervous system. It starts with our brain. It goes down our spine, through our spinal column, and all these nerves come out to different parts of our body. They go to our heart, they go to our kidneys, they go to every single part and piece, our fingers, our toes. It's what allows us to feel. Now, that nervous system can be relaxed, or it can be energized or on. And what trauma is unresolved emotions, or a situation that happened that you haven't dealt with. So those energies will go in and go into our nervous system. Another trauma, for example, is, let's say you're driving your car and you get rear-ended and you get hit from behind. And then from then on, you have this like pain in your neck, and you're always, whenever you're driving, you're kind of holding tightly to the steering wheel because that trauma is still in your body. And it's basically trying to protect you, essentially, is what trauma is it's like a protection mechanism that hides that pain or that suffering and pushes it down in our system. And it also creates a protection in our system. We'll make rules and say, hey, I'm not going to go out after dark, or I'm not going to drive during rush hour anymore, because that's when I had my accident. If you have that, you find out after a while, when you're driving, you're in this kind of tight state. You're like kind of breathing not so deeply. Your body is kind of retracted and contracted. Maybe you're holding the steering wheel hard, and maybe your neck's hurting all the time. You're thinking that it's the trauma of the pain, but it's actually your body kind of going tight because it was such an unexpected incident. Your body will protect yourself, and it builds into our system. This happens all throughout our life. And eventually you get to a point when you're realizing you're not breathing deeply. You're only breathing the top third of your lungs. You're walking around, you're constantly in a fight or flight. It's like, okay, something bad's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. And these things are trapped in our system. These are the traumas. These are the past things that are going on, and they've restricted us because we're now protecting ourselves to say that's not going to happen. Let's say there was a rape involved or whatever, and it was like a boyfriend or somebody in school. You may set some rules and say, okay, I'm not going to go out with that kind of guy anymore, or here's the warning sign. So now I'm protecting myself and I won't allow those kind of people into my life. Those are the protections. Those are sitting in your nervous system as well. It's like, okay, waiting for the warning signs is, how can I protect myself? Why did this happen to me? Blah, blah, blah. And we sit here, I'm 51 years old now. And basically I've got all this built up, call it shit or learning or whatever you want to call it, that says, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I shouldn't go out on a date like that, or I shouldn't move so much, or whatever. And it just sits there in my system, constantly in my subconscious saying, hey, you can't do that. No, that's how you got in trouble last time. Why would you do that again? Why would you do this? These things are all here. Now, what's happening? So now we have an idea of what's sitting in our nervous system. We're now in this point of kind of like a soul examination. And we're getting pressured to go in and release all those things that are limiting our world and our reality, because we're unlimited God beings, but we were taught from the moment we were born that we aren't. And our parents' beliefs about themselves, ourselves' beliefs, how things worked out. In my personal life, I'm looking back at all my past relationships, and I look at these relationships and I'm sitting like, what could I have done better? And why didn't that dream relationship come into my life? Why didn't my twin flame show up? Whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting and kind of, what you call it, in Catholicism, we have this thing, it's called self-flagellating, where people would whip themselves with a leather thing on their back to basically atone for our sins. So basically, you're just constantly beating yourself up for, how could you be so stupid? Why did you allow that person into your life? Why did this happen? Et cetera, et cetera. And it's built into your nervous system as well. It's built into your protection. And right now, my thoughts are going back to those places. And it's like, those places aren't serving me anymore. So why are these things still within me? Well, they've defined me. I've put them as part of it. It's like, okay, I'm a man that had a divorce, that is a father, is an engineer, does IT work for people, is a healer. And I put all those things on, and it's kind of like a cage that says, okay, I'm only these things. And then we look at our relationships and what didn't work out and why we don't have that dream relationship now. And we say, okay, well, I must have made a mistake, or I'm not good enough, or whatever. Those are the self-flagellations, like whipping yourself all the time for what happened in the past. What we're being asked to do now is release all that. Take that out of our nervous system. No longer have to contort ourselves to be a good lover, or to be a good dad, or to be a good at business. And just saying, okay, I am what I am right now. And I look back at all the incidences, the traumas, those things, and they've done something amazing for me, because they've created boundaries in me. They've created new understandings of who I am, of how I speak out and how I can communicate and how I don't hide, and working through some of that past trauma in different ways. And now I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, in those situations, I don't do that anymore. But we don't take that into account when we start flagellating ourselves, saying, oh, I didn't do good enough, or I'm not worthy, or whatever. We now have to understand we're a completely different person from those past events. So now start breathing in and starting to flush out and allow those things to be part of your past, but think of them as the high school or university level course that you went through that taught you about yourself, taught you where you have some beliefs from your parents and you have a bunch of epigenetic lineage trauma and all these other things that are interacting with you, and just keep letting them go and surrendering. That's the true act of surrendering, is to step into your traumas, accept them, and allow them that they were and that they've been and that you can't change them, and then just step into your higher self, just kind of like step out of your dirty laundry and rise above and say, okay, that was my past. I'm a different person now. And I want to be a different person. And this pressure, all the stuff that's going on in the world is squashing us until we make that choice. So where are you beating yourself up about things that happened in the past? Where are you not allowing and accepting what's happened and letting go? And just start looking at it, and it's going to keep showing up, and it's going to keep poking you in the ass, and different incidences are going to come up, and it's going to tell you where you got left and where it hurts and where's the crunch in your body and why is it so tight in my shoulders and why is it, can't I breathe so deep or whatever. These are all symptoms or signs telling you where that trauma is trapped in your body. So go feel it. It's like, okay, I'm not breathing so much. Oh, okay. Well, I'm scared. I'm not sure what the next step is. I'm not sure what's going on. Just acknowledge all those things. There's a little inner child inside that goes back to, like I was talking about, my vegetables, and I'm sitting at the table and that screaming is going on. And I don't know where I'm safe. I'm not safe with my father when he's yelling like that and all these things, but it's something that created this, and there's way more going on and pressure going on than there should be. And I'm not safe to be me. So what do? I'm safe exactly where I am. Keep moving through. Breathe deeper. Start letting go, breathing, letting things pass through you, and magic will happen. It's beautiful that magic can happen. I love this feature where I can add people's comments. So we just keep washing the laundry of you. And we release it and we release it and we go into it and we feel the whole feeling. We breathe it. We ask ourselves, what are we still holding on to? What's not helping us? And magic is happening, but we feel like we're getting beat up and we're exhausted and all this kind of stuff. Just observe it and acknowledge it happened and that it's not serving you anymore, and move on. And the stuff that does serve you will stay. The positive stuff that doesn't moves on. And then you start expanding. Your light expands and you get things beautifully expanded. Thank you, Lini, the beautiful comments. So all this stuff that's going down right now is about flushing us and cleaning us. And it's all about you. It's not about taking on the things of the world and all this kind of stuff. It's all about you. What is going on here? What is scary? What's feeling uncomfortable? And boom, you're through it. And then you go on to the next one. You keep going on to the next one until more and more is gone. You're going to feel more bright, more light, and away you go. But you can't do it by pretending it didn't happen. You can't do it by letting it go. You can't do it by loving and lighting it and just letting it, pretending it's not there, because it is you. You've been through all these things. Acknowledge it. You're going to find out at the end that you're an incredible person. The shit that I've been through in my life is crazy. And it doesn't even make any sense. I'm looking at it now and it's like, okay, this was a university level course on self-mastery, and the shit that happened, I can't explain any of it. I didn't do a lot of things to cause this, but they came in from my lineage. They came in from other places, and I dealt with them. And you're going to find out you can deal with anything and you can get through anything. And as we accept that, our God self comes in, our higher dimensional, higher vibration selves come in. But right now we're just trying to get it cleared out of our nervous system and acknowledge that it's there. And awareness is key. So hopefully this helps, and just breathe and look and observe, and magic's going to happen. So I thank you for listening. Thank you for your beautiful comments, Lini, and everyone. And we'll talk more soon. Love you all. Have a good day. Talk soon. Bye.